Hello, citizens of YouTube land.
Hey,
It's your president and your VP. And we're back with another episode of
the month of Halloween horror.
This time it's the Amityville
Amityville
Horror, which premiered July 27th, 1979. It was produced for a budget of $4.7 million, and it made, astoundingly, somehow, $86.4 million. It stars James Brolin and Margot Kidder. Those are your top stars in the movie. And one thing right away that I want to bring up is that Margot Kidder, the year before, was Lois Lane in Superman. So she goes from one of the best superhero films of all time to a mediocre supernatural horror thriller.
Yeah, that
And
doesn't even do a lot of things right.
so, a little backstory. This movie is based off of a book by the same name, and it recounts the events of the Lutz family. And I hope I don't get in too much trouble by revealing some of this information for you guys.
Well, here, let me tell you, because I could probably do better than Dad, because he's a skeptic. I'm not. But even when it comes to this movie, I think some of this is complete and total bullcrap. So here we go. Story goes that there's this one dude,
Ronald
DeFeo Jr. shot his family with a shotgun. All of his family, by the way.
Yeah, so fair warning, guys. I know we're going right into this, but spoiler alert, this is somewhat based on true events. And I say somewhat because, like you said, that this man killed his entire family. And he was caught.
And he blamed it on demonic voices that he heard in the house. And fair warning, this dude does have schizophrenia, but if you know the mental illness of schizophrenia, you have it in episodes. So he may have actually heard it, but when he wasn't schizophrenic, he then did it and then confessed immediately and blamed it on the voices that he heard that told him to kill his family.
But let's not also miss words by the fact that he was more motivated by greed and money more than anything else.
Yeah.
So with that out of the way, a little bit later, the Lutz family, they apparently bought the house and moved in. And supposedly they only lasted 28 days because of the demonic forces that were in the house. However, they basically collaborated it all up, or collaborated together, and basically made everything up.
Yeah.
And I say basically because they claim at one point in the research that we were doing for the film and the book, that one of them had claimed that most of what they had said was true. They claimed that it was mostly true. However, when you say a phrase like that, you're just basically sprinkling and peppering lies with little bits of the truth. So with that out of the way, guys, let's dive right into this.
So the film begins, like I said, with the murder of the DeFeo family, with Ronald DeFeo Jr., who, like I said, takes a shotgun to every single one of his family members.
Right. And after that, the Lutzes are shown moving in, and it's pretty mundane, boring stuff. They're moving in, they're in love. It's apparently a bit of a blended family, too, because the kids are actually George's stepkids in the movie. So there's also a little bit of a tension there because he hasn't, it's pretty much shown that he hasn't quite fully bonded with the children.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of antagonism there that I think that the demonic forces also kind of pick up on and bring to the
demonic
surface.
Forces, I should say.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it takes one day. One day for George to basically start becoming possessed.
Right.
One day. How long did it take for Mia to become possessed? 3 weeks. How long did it take for Reagan to become possessed? Literally a month and a half.
Right.
1 day.
So yeah, George is pretty weak-willed overall.
So
And
that should tell you how bullcrap this movie actually is.
so there's signs, I guess, that the house is possessed, and George is slowly but surely being driven insane by the demonic forces. There's also, which I don't really care to follow up on it too much, but there's also this subplot about, uh, well, I will say a little bit about it, that one of the father of the local Catholic church comes to the house, and he gets all freaked out. And he, after visiting the house, there's a car accident because the hood magically flips open and the steering wheel is locked. So apparently, somehow, the demonic forces from the house possessed the car and caused it to
Actually,
cause the steering wheel to lock up.
this is what we call an attachment. Maybe one of the demonic forces from the house attached itself to the father to make sure he doesn't go back and warn the Lutzes about what's happening as part of the master plan.
It could be. Or it could be like they had claimed that because it was the late 70s and Detroit was on the decline, that maybe they bought a car that had the quality of, say, a Pinto. Who knows?
Actually, the car was a Pinto.
so, so with that out of the way, sorry guys, you got to poke fun at it a little bit. So, then they show this one scene where the two Catholic priests are talking with each other, and then suddenly, I guess because the priest got an attachment to him, like he said, we'll just go with that since that's what the movie is telling us, basically.
Yeah.
The father is all like, "I'm blind, I'm blind, I can't see."
After he does like this massive prayer, and then the demons are basically just like, you know what? How about no?
So, George is getting more and more antagonistic towards his family, and he freaks out at the wedding reception. And I think that it's basically implied, by the way, that George actually stole the $1,500 because there's that part in the movie.
And he also wrote a check that bounced.
Yeah, because money issues, guys. Let me tell you something that this movie delves heavily on the money issues. And I think, in a way, the movie itself is telling you that the Lutzes are full of crap.
Yeah. So later on in the movie, their door basically blasts open.
Yeah.
There's a good explanation for this. Around this time that the movie takes place, which I think all this happened in 1976, and the book was written in 77,
Yeah,
and
you're
then the
correct.
movie was written in 78. In 76, there was a tropical depression that came through Long Island that basically just wiped everything away. And probably what happened during that moment is that's how the door blew open, because a tropical depression kind of just came through and says, "Hi, Long Island, bye, Long Island."
Yeah, that could have been. And so, yeah. Um, Okay, it's all wrapping up. He's lost his mind. To speed this along, he's lost his mind due to the demonic possession. He's got an axe.
This is the only cool part of the movie, by the way. He has an axe and he's slowly walking up the stairs, and it's a really cool shot.
Yeah.
Because you have him walking up the stairs and you have him holding the axe.
Probably right here.
Right here, yeah.
We'll
And
show
and
that.
then there's a shadow of him holding the axe as well. It's awesome. I love it. And then after that,
under the same building, but that is where KFC is. Was another big reason behind Colonel Sanders died in 1980. They lost their spokesperson.
like he goes all Jack Torrance on the door that they have. Mind you, a year later, The Shining would come out,
Mm-hmm.
and before that, uh, The Shining, the book, came out, I think, a couple of years before the movie came out. So, again, I think the author of the Amityville Horror kind of took inspiration from that.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but so he hacks at the door and then he regains control of his mind. And that's because his wife comes in and slaps the taste out of him, basically.
Oh, wait, one moment. Before he goes in and tries to hack up his family, he sees a goat head in the window.
Yep,
A goat head.
yep. And the lights come on and off on the house by themselves quite often in the movie.
And then there's
And of
also
course, for those of you guys who know the famous Amityville house, the front of it kind of looks like a man's face.
right
So
there.
that's
It's right there.
why it was the way it was. So yeah, he basically tried to, and then he doesn't, and they decide to leave.
Yeah, and by the
but
way,
the
there's a
dog is
tree.
still there.
There's a tree that gets thrown right through the window, a la Poltergeist style. Well, that brings another point. Poltergeist had a really cool villain named the Beast. It's
Mm-hmm.
freaking scary. In fact, I'll show him right here because I actually showed it in a previous review, so I'll show it right here. This movie had a goat head.
Yeah.
Tell me which is scarier, the Beast or a goat head?
It could have been a wolf's head, but the point was that it was an animal's head in the window, and so yeah, he's right. But I guess the dog is still there, so George decides to go back for the dog, and he ends up he falls into this vat of blood sludge or something, and he's trying to get out of it, and the dog is growling, and it grabs him by the arm and pulls him out of the sludge, and then he breaks a window, and he puts the dog through the window. Then he's carrying the dog, and magically he doesn't have any of the blood or sludge on him.
Continuity errors. See, that's what we call an actual sin, cinema sins.
Because yeah, it was pouring down rain, but there would have still been some residue or something to show that he had been covered from head to toe in this blood sludge stuff. So then basically, yep, that's it. The end.
Yep.
Sorry to cut it a little abruptly like that, but that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Is peace out.
No,
we're done.
it then says that the Lutzes moved to another state, blah blah blah. And yeah.
They never got their possessions. And so a little more of the backstory, though, since we've covered the entire film now. This film was subject to, of course, lots of lawsuits and controversies, as was the book, because of the authenticity factor of both said film and the book. And yeah, so it's pretty controversial. And overall, guys, here's the best synopsis of the Amityville Horror, though, as it stands today. And that is, it's a slightly above average supernatural thriller.
Yeah. There are other
that
films
did set the trend as far as supernatural thrillers go, but there were movies before and after that perfected and did the formula better.
like, well, one of the other reviews we're about to cover, The Exorcist, and a movie we already did before, Poltergeist.
Yeah. So, final rating for the Amityville Horror, 3 out of 5. What say you?
Also 3 out of 5. And I would also like to mention the fact that, like, in my research, the Amityville Horror was the house, or the Lutzes had Ed and Lorraine Warren come into the house, and they were like, "Why did you call us in? There's nothing here." Like, that should tell you something, because they've been known for, they are some of the most famous demonologists of all time and paranormal investigators. In fact, some of paranormal investigators you see nowadays, they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Ed and Lorraine Warren. But basically, they're like, why'd you call us here? There's nothing here. So that should tell you something, that some of the most famous paranormal investigators investigated the house and said, there's nothing here. That should tell you something.
So, but of course, as always, if you have seen the Amityville Horror and you believe that it is the worst supernatural thriller of all time, well,
Have you seen Paranormal Activity?
I know we've used that, but also, have you seen the sequels to the Amityville Horror?
Oh, God.
Yikes! Maybe someday we'll cover some of them, but
there's so many of them, though.
but
no.
But of course, guys, up next is gonna be The Omen.
The Omen and The Exorcist.
Yeah, double review because we're running short on time, guys. It is getting towards the end of the month, and we're trying to get these in, but work, school, and other obligations.
So we're actually gonna push back The Last Man on Earth to probably like Saturday or something like that, or whenever we both have another day off.
We can. We'll probably try, guys. I don't know for sure, but we'll try to get this stuff out just as quick as we can. We promise. But yeah, guys.
Now that my marching band season's over, guys, it's gonna be a lot better with the scheduling.
Yeah.
Wise. Just letting you know that now that marching band season's over, and I don't have to do any like evening rehearsals anymore on like Tuesdays or Thursdays. So basically all this is just going to be a time crunch, but after this it's not going to be as bad anymore.
Right. So with that out of the way, guys, I guess there's only one thing left to say, and that of course is
peace and love from Danny and Son. Bye.